Good morning and namaste. My name is Suzanne Silvermoon from Indigo Lotus Yoga, and I'm here to offer you a short little practice of yoga to support healthy lymphatic flow. The lymph system in our bodies is an important element of our immune system. It helps us to clear away the debris. All of our immune cells float through the lymphatic system, and they're the ones that are going to meet up with any health challenges, any environmental invaders into our body system. And so yoga has some great asanas and tools, ways of stretching the body and promoting lymphatic flow so that all this good work that the lymph system is doing for us will help to deliver that through the system and then eventually out of the body. So please gather a yoga mat, one or two yoga blocks if you have them, a yoga belt if you have it and need it, and also a blanket that you can use. So I'm going to return to my mat while you get those things, and we'll begin in just a moment. I'm going to adjust our camera. There's my mat. Okay, so I'm going to head on over. So as you can see on my mat, I've set a blanket here, and the idea of that is that we want to just take a seat, a cross-legged seated position on that blanket, with the folded edge of the blanket just underneath your buttock bones. And if you lean over to the side and sort of feel through the flesh of your glutes, you can feel those pokey bones right at the bottom of your pelvis. And so we'll make sure that both of those bones are right on the folded edge of the blanket. So crossing the ankles, if that's comfortable for you, you can do that. If your hips are tight, if your low back is feeling a little uncomfortable, you could fold that blanket again one more time to lift your pelvis up a little higher, and that will give you some comfort into the hip joints and into the low back. Also, if you're in this cross-legged position and one or both of your knees are up high like this, you can take your yoga block, or if you don't have a yoga block, you could use books for this. Just use that block and tuck it up underneath one or both of your thighs, just to bring the legs up to a more comfortable position for your hips and your lower back. Okay, so one of the things about beginning a yoga practice in this way, in a cross-legged seated position, and in regards to supporting a healthy immune system and lymphatic flow, is to improve the quality of breath that you're bringing into your body. So we sit down in this cross-legged position, and again, if this is uncomfortable, you can modify. You could even bring a chair over and sit in a chair for this portion of the practice. So we'll root down through the places that are connecting into the earth. And if you're seated on a chair, then you want to feel the connection of those buttock bones in the seat of the chair. And if you're in the chair, setting your feet hip distance apart with the knees in line with your hips and your feet in line with your knees. If you're cross-legged on the floor, then we are rooting downward through the outer edges of the feet and those buttock bones on the folded edge of the blanket. And sink in, relax. Create as much ease in your body as you can cultivate, relaxing and resisting any contraction and tightness in the joints. Deep relaxation triggers a separate part of our nervous system. When we're anxious or stressed out, if we're worried about this COVID-19 virus that's going around or any other illness that's in your community, then that creates tension in the body and either a low level or even a high level functioning of our sympathetic nervous system. So sitting down and breathing deeply for a few minutes, even if that's all that you do for your yoga practice, this will benefit your nervous system and your immune system to shift things over to the parasympathetic nervous system. So we ground down through the pelvis, and if you're on the floor, the outer edges of the feet. Feel a sense of stability and support of the earth underneath you. We want to contract the muscles of the lower abdominal area, just below the navel. And if you can, the pelvic floor muscles, contracting and pulling up into what's called Mula Bandha. You can close your eyes and elongate through your spine as if you can press up from the very tippy top of the crown of your head upward into the sky. With your next inhalation, draw the shoulders up to the ears, press them straight back behind you, and then slide the shoulder blades down your back body towards your pelvis. And then feel the sense of openness that you've created in your chest. The length in the spine has opened up the abdomen so that you have a greater ease with this movement of the diaphragm, the prime mover of your respiratory system, this big, large muscle that separates the abdomen from the chest. So as you inhale, see if you can just soften the upper abdominal muscles, and that will draw the breath down into the bases of your lungs toward the bottom of your rib cage. Keep breathing in until you feel the expansion fully of your rib cage. Keep breathing in until you feel the lift of the collarbones. Exhaling, we're going to draw downward on the collarbones, press down, squeeze in through the rib cage, and then at the bottom of the breath, pull the belly muscles in towards your spine. So take just a few moments to breathe in this way. Again, with the inhalation, the abdomen expands, the ribs expand, the collarbones lift. On the exhalation, the collarbones descend, the ribs squeeze toward the center, and then the belly is drawn back toward the spine. In yoga, there's a lot of talk, a lot of emphasis on the energy that's delivered to the body system on the vehicle of the breath. In Sanskrit, it's referred to prana, the life force energy. So I invite you to imagine what this life force energy looks like as you breathe in and fill your lungs with this imagery of this life force energy. And as you exhale, imagine that you can press that imagery outward through the body system, filling all the little nooks and crannies, all the spaces of the body with this life. Take 2 more breaths in this way, breathing in slow and deep, filling up, seeing the imagery of the lungs lighting up with that life force. And then exhaling, pressing that imagery outward. Imagine that you're filling out the whole of the body system with this life. 1 more breath in this way. And then when you're ready, you can slowly open your eyes. And then we'll extend our legs for a moment and just give them a little wiggle, a little bounce back and forth. You can pat your legs. You can massage your legs. The idea is to just welcome the blood flow to go back down through the legs after sitting in cross-leg position for a little bit of time. One of the things about our lymphatic system is that there's a lot of what are called lymph nodes in kind of the grooves of the body. So in the armpits and in the groins, at the elbows, the backs of the knees, in through the neck and the sternum, there's a lot of lymph nodes. So we're going to be concentrating our yoga practice as we draw the legs back in, crossing them the opposite direction. concentrating our yoga, stretching on these areas of the body to really open up that part and get some flow through that lymphatic system. The other aspect of the lymph is that it is not supported by the pumping action of the heart as it is with our vascular system. So we are going to do a little bit of some subtle and gentle inverted poses today to encourage a flow from the extremities, meaning the hands, the fingers, and the feet, and the legs and arms, back towards the heart. So back towards that place in our body where the lymph isn't going to dump its fluids back into the circulatory system. All right, so this is kind of the general overview of what we're going to do today. So you've recrossed your legs. We're going to take the hands down onto the knees and create a little bit of pressure, helping that descent of the legs, opening up that space in the hip joints. With your exhalation, drop the chin down into the notch between the collarbones, stretching out the back of the neck in a nice gentle tug all the way up through the spine. Take just 1 or 2 breaths with the chin tucked down into that notch between the collarbones. This is called Jalandhara Bandha. So there's a concentration in the throat and an emphasis on awakening energy in the thymus gland and in the thyroid gland as we tuck the chin down. On the next inhalation, lift the chin all the way up toward the sky as if you can arc back over a little ball behind your neck. So you're not letting the head just fall back, but lifting and lengthening through the cervical spine of the neck. Stretching open the front of the neck. We're dropping down the collarbones and pulling down the scapula, the shoulder blades, and the back body. And then inhaling, lift the head back up to a neutral position. With your exhalation, drop the chin down to the notch between the collarbones. Inhale, roll across your right chest with the chin. At the end of the breath, lift the chin, look up and back behind the right shoulder. Exhaling, draw down through the right chest to the center. Inhale and roll across the left chest. At the end of the breath, lift the chin, look up and back behind the left shoulder. And then exhale, roll back down through to the center. Inhale and we'll lift the chin to look straight ahead. Now we'll interlace our fingers in front of the chest, turn the palms away from you, and then press straight ahead. So we're stretching out the backs of the shoulder joints, pressing out through the arms, encouraging a stretching out of all the circulatory system, the lymphatic system, stretching out those vessels. And then inhale, take the arms up overhead, pressing the palms to the sky. And then look up to the fingers. Taking a couple of breaths here, keep stretching up, opening the armpits in that place where I said there's all that lymphatic lymph nodes in the armpit. And we're going to unlace the fingers and just reach the fingers straight up into the sky and sort of feel how there's a draining quality coming down from the fingers, through the arms, down toward the shoulder joints, and this idea of bringing fluid back toward the heart from the upper extremities. With an exhalation, let's float our arms now down and take the hands behind the back, interlace the fingers, and reach to the floor. Inhaling, lift the arms away from the back and get a nice big stretch into the shoulder joints. Nice warm up here. Nice couple of breaths. And then with your exhalation, softly release the arms down towards the back and bring the hands forward. Inhale, sweep those arms up overhead again. With your exhalation, Turn the body towards the right. We're going to drop that left hand over to the right knee and the right hand behind you on the floor. Press into the hand that's behind you and elevate through your spine. On your exhalation, use the hand at the knee to create leverage and twist to look behind your right shoulder. This concentration of energy into the core of the body, squeezing in around the spine, squeezing in the digestive organs of the belly, is a really nice way to move that lymph and squeeze out any stagnation or toxicity that might be dwelling in the tissues of your digestive system. With an exhalation, unwind, coming back around to face forward. Inhale, arms come up overhead, and then we'll twist to the opposite side, turning towards the left, right hand to the left knee, left hand on the floor behind you. Press into the floor, lift and lengthen the spine. Exhale and turn towards the left, looking as far behind the left shoulder as you can. Again, just feeling into the nature of what's happening in the abdomen, squeezing in those organs. And then exhaling now, releasing and coming back around to face the front. Let's shift our position to a tabletop position. We'll come onto hands and knees and take the blanket. If you have a blanket on your mat, you can take that off to the side now, or if you're on a hard floor, you could open up the blanket and place it underneath your knees for a little bit of cushion. So establishing yourself in this hands and knees position, setting the knees so they're directly under your hips, the wrists directly underneath your shoulders. Spread as wide as you can through the fingers and the toes. And with an inhalation, begin to sway the spine, coming into cow pose at the end of the breath. Look up. Exhaling, arching the spine into cat pose at the end of the breath, looking back. Back and forth for 2 or 3 rounds. Undulating the spine, trying to roll the movement from the base of the spine upward into the neck. So the last thing to move is the neck. The first thing to move is the pelvis and the low back. So we'll take one more round, back and forth in each direction. Good, and then your next inhalation, bringing the spine back to a neutral position. Let's take the right foot now and step it up, placing that foot just to the outside of your right wrist. And then begin walking the hands forward, flexing at the hip and the knee, dropping down into a deep lunge pose. So this is going to flex deeply in that right hip joint, again where that axillary area is, where there's lots of lymphatic flow, lymph nodes, So if you can, it becomes possible to drop all the way down to the forearms in this posture. If that's uncomfortable for you for any reason, you can use your yoga block or blocks, stacking them, and place the forearms onto the block. So just a few breaths in this posture. It's called Anjani Asana. And as you're working in the pose, you might try opening up that bent knee out to the side, stretching a little bit more into that right hip joint. Slow, deep breaths. You might also bring your awareness back to the visualization of breathing in prana, life force energy into the lungs, exhaling and pressing that energy out into those spaces that you really feel are working in the posture. And then we'll bring our hands back up underneath our shoulders and draw that right foot back into your tabletop position. And then switch sides. So now the left foot comes up, and again, walking the hands forward, leaning into the lunge. The hip flexes more, the knee flexes more, and then the right leg is elongating behind you. So again, you can either bring your forearms all the way down onto the mat, or you could put the block up underneath the forearms. If that's still too far to go, you can simply keep your hands on the mat and work in this position. Again, you can move that bent knee out to the side, moving it outward to create a little bit more of that work in the hip joint. Slow, deep breaths. Anjaneyasana. To come out of the pose, we begin to decrease the flexion of the hip, moving from the pelvis, and then stepping that left foot, left knee back into position, into your tabletop position. Let's now curl the toes under, taking the bottoms of the toes onto the mat. Spread out wide through your fingers, press down into the palms of the hands, and then lift the knees and the hips, moving into downward facing dog pose, Adho Mukha Svanasana pose. So on this first pose, we can walk through. On the inhalation, we can bend the left knee. On the exhalation, bend the right knee. And just back and forth, slowly alternating the bent knees. This is creating a kind of pumping action through the legs. The lymphatic system is dependent upon the strength of the muscles and the movement in our body to encourage that flow of the lymph up from the extremities and back in toward the torso and toward the heart. On the next inhalation, bend both knees nice and deep. Tip your buttock bones up to the sky and press the front edge of the mat away from you, which will draw your torso back toward your thighs. And then exhaling, slowly straighten the knees while lifting those buttock bones toward the sky, and let the heels find their way toward the mat or down onto the mat. So full downward facing dog pose. So in this position, the spine is upside down relative to normal. And so we have a bit of an inverted pose here, coming from the pelvis down the torso toward the heart. Next inhalation, we'll take our gaze forward to the front of the mat and step the feet up, bringing them to hip distance apart at the front of your mat. And if you can, with straight knees, touch the floor, then we want to take our peace fingers and hook them around the big toes. If your knees are bent when you try to touch the floor, then I want to ask you to place a block in front of your feet and place hands on the block so that you might be able to straighten your knees. All right, so as you're exhaling, we're softly releasing into the stretch. Again, you've got that downward flow of the torso toward the head as you're in this forward bending posture. Slowly descending breath by breath. Next inhalation, lift halfway up, bringing the hands to the upper hip bones. Exhaling here. Press down into the feet, engage the muscles around the thighs. Inhale and lift all the way up to standing. Great. Okay, now we're going to take our block and take a big step out to the right. Nice wide stance, maybe about 5 feet apart with your legs, or to whatever width is comfortable for you and your body. And we're going to take this block and place it right in the middle of our mat. And then extend the arms out to the sides. Reaching out, feeling that openness through the groin area, the openness in the armpits. Feel that flow going through the legs as you press into the feet and lift up from the pelvic floor all the way up through the crown of the head. So you're like a star in this position. With your exhalation, bring the hands now into your hip joints. Inhaling, lift the front body. Lengthen the space from the pubic bone up to the navel, navel to the heart, heart to the throat. And then exhale and begin forward folding while keeping that length in the front body. So we're tipping the pelvis forward. And then reach down and take your hands to the block that you had placed there. With your inhalation, press into the outer edges of the feet and elongate your spine. Press out from the tailbone through the crown of the head. Exhale and see if you can fold a little bit more, maybe bending into the elbows. Perhaps you can bring your hands down to the mat. And then breath by breath, do that same action. Inhale, elongate the spine. Exhale and see if you can fold a little more. Eventually, perhaps you can bring the crown of your head onto the block. If you can descend further down, you can drop the block further down. So again, we've brought ourselves into an inverted posture here, so that we have, again, that downward flow from the lower spine and the torso up towards the heart. Taking another couple of long, slow, deep breaths in the posture. And then inhaling, lift up to a half lift. Bring the hands onto your upper hip bones. And then inhale and come up the rest of the way. Great, and then we can toe heel, our feet in, and we'll step back to our standing posture at the front of the mat. Great. So inhale now, sweep the arms up overhead. Exhale and turn the palms out, float forward into your standing forward bend. You can touch the floor if you can bend if you can't, keep your knees from bending, go ahead. And then inhale, lift partway up, straightening the legs. Exhale now, bend deep in your legs. Place the hands on the mat and step back to a high push-up pose. And then release the knees and tops of the feet to the mat. Bend the elbows, sending them straight back, tight to the ribs as you lower the pelvis, belly, and chest down onto the mat. Inhaling, press the pubic bone down, and then slowly begin to lift the upper torso up into a gentle back bend. Exhaling, release the torso back down again. Curl your toes under, lift up through your tabletop pose. Cross the ankles. Walk the hands back towards your knees and either roll over and sit down behind your ankles, or from here you can sit off to the side, and we'll bring our legs around to the front. One of the things that's very, very essential to maintaining a healthy immune system and good lymphatic flow is to make certain that we have a nice, easy flow through the digestive system. So these next postures are wonderful for creating that squeezing effect into the organs of digestion in the belly and welcoming a new blood flow into those organs as you release the posture. So we're going to bend the right knee, bringing the heel of the foot up close to the bottom, with the heel just to the outside of that buttock bone on that side. We'll take the right hand behind us on the floor, and then just simply wrap the left hand around that right knee. With your inhalation, press into the heel of the hand, elongate through the spine, exhale and twist to look behind your right shoulder. So you should feel that the bent thigh is pressing gently into the abdomen. We can flex strongly into the left foot and press down the inner upper left calf. We keep both buttock bones anchored down, the spine lifting. And as every exhalation releases the waist, we can maybe take the twist a little bit deeper. With our exhalation, softly, slowly unwind, coming back to face the front and extend that right leg out. And then we'll switch sides. So left knee bends. Again, the heel is going to come right up close to your bottom and just to the outside of that left buttock bone. The left hand goes behind you on the floor. The right hand crosses over to hold the outside of the left knee. The right ankle is in flexion and we're rooting down to the inner calf of the right leg. Again, we press into the heel of the hand and create that lift and extension through the spine, making space in the torso for the twist. Exhaling, turn to face that left thigh and navigate the twist. In these twisted postures, we're hoping that we can begin to move the opposite side rib cage from the bent leg around towards that bent leg, really deepening the twist. And again, feeling the thigh press into your belly, encouraging that squeezing action of the digestive organs, eliminating any waste, any stagnation. Exhaling now, softly, slowly, unwind, and then extend that left leg. Great. You should feel kind of a little bit of prickly, tingling sensation through the abdomen area as the blood flow comes back in and flushes out any of the waste that was just released from those organs. Okay. Next posture, we're going to lie down on our back with bent knees and feet on the floor, and keep your yoga block or books or maybe your blanket handy, as we're going to use this to come into a bit of a supported back bending posture. So I'll lay down. So the feet are going to be set hip distance apart, with the heels directly underneath the knees. So you feel a straight line from the knee to the heels. The palms of the hands are going to stretch out and place on the floor outside of your hips. Draw your shoulder blades down the back body towards your hips and bring the pubic bone upward towards your navel. You should feel the low back press in against the floor. Then we'll press through the legs and begin to lift the bottom up off of the mat. And then this will be where you can either take your yoga block and slide it in at whatever level is comfortable for you in your body, right underneath the broadest part of your pelvis in the back body. If you don't have a block, you could use your yoga blanket and slide that folded blanket in underneath so that you can come to a resting position. The block provides a little bit more lift for me, so I'm going to go back to the block. And so now again, what we have is a deep flexion at the neck, where there's a bit of pressure into the thyroid and thymus glands that are regulators for our whole body, for our endocrine system and for our immune system. The T cells are generated from the thymus. And we have a little bit of an inversion here as we bring the hips higher than the heart. So there's this gentle flow of the lymphatic flow coming back from the lower part of the body toward the heart. So I encourage you to spend just another few breaths in this posture. And if you can comfortably do so, if you're using a block, you might even try lifting up a little higher, and perhaps you could bring the block up to the next higher level and get a little more back bending, a little bit more of that elevation of the pelvis in relation to the heart. But only go as far as it's comfortable for you and your body. Keep a sense of length in the neck so that you're not collapsing in your neck, but that the chest is lifting towards your chin. We'll take 3 more breaths in this posture, really enjoying all the qualities, knowing that we're helping that lymphatic flow. To come out of the pose, we'll take the block out from underneath and slowly roll the spine back down onto the mat. The last thing to find the floor should be your sacrum, the back wall of the pelvis. And then once that sacrum is down on the floor, let's bend the knees up and draw them in towards your chest. Just giving a little squeeze, a little press down, a counter stretch to the back bend. And again, this is a squeezing quality into those areas where those lymph nodes are, in the groin area and into the back of the knee. Then I'll have you lay your left leg down onto the floor. And if you have gotten a belt, we'll take our belt and put it around the widest part of your right foot and extend that leg up into the sky. Take a hold of the tail of your belt with the right hand and place the left hand down on top of your left thigh. With your inhalation, begin to slowly work to draw that straight leg downward towards your chest. And then exhale and just let a little bit of release happen from that stretch. Inhale, draw it down towards your chest, nice straight leg stretch. Exhale and slowly just release a little bit. We're going to do one more round of that stretch, pulling it down, and then release. Now, take your yoga blanket and align it right alongside of that right thigh. We're going to open the leg out to the side and let the thigh come down onto that folded blanket. Nice stretch down the whole inseam of your leg, where again there's a long line of that lymphatic flow. So we're just stretching it open and welcoming that lymphatic vessels to have a nice long stretch. One more cycle of the breath with this leg out to the side. And then inhaling, slowly lift the leg back up to a neutral position. And then we'll bend into the knee and set that foot down onto the floor. We'll bring our blanket over to the other side of the mat. And then switching sides. So the left foot will come up. We'll place the strap around the widest part of the left foot. The right hand rests on top of the right thigh. And then breathing and stretching, just like we did on the opposite side. Inhale and bring the leg downward toward the chest. Exhale and a little bit of release. Inhale, draw the leg downward. Exhale and a slight release of the stretch. One more time. Inhale, draw the leg down just as far as it will go. And then a soft release. We can open up the right hand to the side, and then the left leg will open out to the side. Again, getting this lovely, lovely stretch down the whole inseam of the left leg, opening up the lymphatic flow. Try your best to keep the right shoulder and right hip downward on the floor as you stretch the left leg out to the side. Couple more breaths. Slow, deep breath. Inhaling now. Rise the leg back up. And then we'll bend into that left knee, taking the strap away from the foot. And then, I'd like you to stretch your legs out at hip distance apart. Move your props away from your hands. Rotate from the shoulder joints all the way open from the arms, turning the palms toward the sky if you're comfortable doing so. And we'll just take a few moments in Shavasana. Again, reminding you that when we can keep our nervous system calm and dwell in that parasympathetic nervous system, which is the rest, repair, restore part of our nervous system, that we can boost our immune system. So taking just a few minutes in this posture, in this deep, relaxing posture at the end of your practice, can support this wonderful superpower of a super powered up lymphatic system and immune system. As you're resting in Shavasana, try to keep your mind quiet and reflective. Any parts of the body that might still have a bit of tension, you want to ask those body parts to relax and create release, soften and let go. Enjoy this deep, conscious relaxation. We'll take 10 more slow, deep breaths in and out.
Begin slowly to release the posture Savasana with a little wiggle of the fingers and toes. Roll the wrists and ankles. And then with an inhalation, let's bring the arms up overhead. Long stretch out through the fingers as well as stretch out through the legs and the toes. And then exhaling, release the arms and then bend into the knees. Roll your body over to the right side, curling up in the fetal position for just a moment. And then as you're feeling ready, press the left hand into the floor and lift the body back up to a seated position. Crossing the legs, and if you want to, again, bring that folded blanket up underneath the buttock bones again. Bringing the hands to the heart center and softly bow towards your heart. Give yourself thanks for coming to your yoga mat and practicing this lymphatic flow, boosting the immune system, calming the nervous system down, and promoting health. Namaste, everyone.